When we started, we would use an actual hair dryer. Obviously, hair dryer wasn't cutting it. And then two guys came in with experience and they banged out a car in like 45 minutes. And then we saw that they had an actual heat gun.
Let's say that 20% of the consumers in a market understand a product exists. If you can bump that to 30%, you've just increased the market size by 50%,
Exactly.
right? We have so many products that most people don't even know exist.
If there's nothing there content-wise, you're first to market. Like, go after it, go hard.
As far as Tinters for a Cause,
Yeah.
I mean, whatever idea that you can have in your head that would help us raise funds, just reach out to me. And hopefully more installers like yourselves will want to hop on board and support each other.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Born to Tint with the Miller Brothers. I'm excited to be here with my co-host and my brother, Josh.
How's it going? Today, we've got an extra special conversation with Dean Mitchell of Xpel. He's the New York territory manager, and he also runs Tinters for a Cause, which is a charity by the industry, for the industry, to help people out that might come across hard times or medical issues. They've done some really cool stuff to help people in the industry already. We have an in-depth conversation about his beginnings in the industry and how Tinters for a Cause became a thing and how you can help contribute to Tinters for a Cause.
Thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me, guys.
What it comes down to, we really wanted to have you on. I kind of wanted to know, I know I've seen you on social media, Tinter with a Cause, Tinters for
a Cause. Yeah.
For a Cause, my bad. And I've always been interested kind of to know kind of your background when it comes to the tint industry itself. I know you are a territory rep for Xpel up in Canada.
Yep. Nope. In the U.S.
U.S.
Got the New England and New York.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Oh, see, shows you how much I know. So I figured we start with just kind of your background into the film industry and how you got into it, kind of how you kind of got where you are, and we'll kind of go from there.
Yeah. So basically, when I graduated from high school, at 16, 17 years old, because we graduated at 17 in Canada, I didn't know what the hell I wanted to do with my life, right? So I went to college for a semester, and I'm like, no, this is not for me. So I ended up getting a job at a General Motors plant back in Montreal, where we assembled the Firebirds and Camaros. So I was screwing airbags on steering wheels at a volume of about 400 airbags per shift. And I did that for about a year and a half, 2 years, and that just got boring. So one of my buddies had bought a brand new Honda Civic, and he got his windows tinted. And he comes back one evening, we're going out, and he goes, I saw how they did it, and it looks easy. So let's buy some film. We have a store called Canadian Tire where they sold cheap film. And so we went back to his place in his garage, and we started trying to remove the film. And I've never touched film before, so that was a shit show. And then it took us about a week to figure it out, and the car looked like total crap. And but I kept my job. I was working the 4 to midnight shift, and there was a lot of downtime because the whole assembly line was brand new, so they would slow it down. So my buddy would come to the shop, and he was practicing. So we'd practice during my downtimes, and that's basically how it all started, to the point where I quit my job at General Motors, and I just we went at it full time. But it was in the middle of the summer, and I didn't know that window film tint, automotive window tint, was completely dead in the winter in Canada. You got 10 feet of snow, and nobody cares about tinting the windows because it's too cold, right? So, and I basically, what am I going to do for money? So thank God I was living at home, because my parents are like, get a real job, right? So, but my father told me for the first 5 years, like, get a real job. So it all took off from there. I bought a little Dodge Caravan and loaded it with tint, and we just started hitting up dealerships, and it all went from there. Those Dodge Caravans the back part of the Dodge Caravans back in the 90s weren't tinted. So we would do Dodge Caravans every single day, and we just got into a shop at some point, and it grew from there. So we went from doing maybe 5 cars a week in the early 90s to 65 cars a day when I sold my shop to Xpel in 2018. So the volume just, and then my dad apologized for ever telling me that I should get a real job.
I want to go back, but first, because it's stuck in my brain, because we talked a little about this earlier. 65 cars in a day. How many installers?
So we had 8 guys, myself and my partner, so 10 tinters altogether. My partner and I at the end would stay at the shop, and the 8 guys were servicing dealerships all over the area. And our record for one day was 71 cars.
That's
Full cars, yeah, with pre-cut kits, obviously.
Yeah.
So had a guy at the shop. So we had an 11th employee who would answer the phones. And when the dealerships called to book an appointment, he would write down the VLTs, and he'd plot everything. We had boxes lined up with the employees' names on every box. So they come in the morning, they grab their box, put it in the car, and off they went. So yeah, it was a
nice.
real big operation.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's killer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Your beginning story is so funny to listen to. Especially, I just listened to the first episode we did with our dad, and it's so similar. Like that.
Grab a box of film.
Yeah,
And let's
saw
see what
somebody else do
happens.
it. I could do it.
Let's see what happens. Yeah.
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 So when you learn, I'm assuming seaming the back window was that was what you guys
Oh yeah,
did?
we would do back windows in 2 to 3 pieces in the beginning. Yep.
When did you learn how to shrink?
So listen, when we started, we would use an actual hair dryer, right? Because doing a rear window in 2 or 3 pieces, the fingers are really, really small, but obviously a hair dryer wasn't cutting it. So we were doing it at a local glass shop, and then we started one of our first vehicles. It was probably 8 o'clock in the morning, and it was 4 o'clock in the afternoon. We were still at it, and then 2 guys came in with experience. And they banged out a car in like 45 minutes, and then we saw that they had an actual heat gun. So then we went to the hardware store, bought a heat gun, and we started playing with it. And then that led into, the film got better as the years went on. It was easier to shrink. So that's when we started doing rear windows in one piece. Probably, I'd say about in the 1998, 97 is when we really started banging out windows in one piece. Yeah. After 2 to 3 years in.
Yeah, it's crazy how much faster information travels now. Because when when our dad moved us out here in '92, he had just learned how to shrink in Southern California at the time. So they were learning how to shrink out there. But when he came here, nobody knew how to shrink yet, and he was putting windows in back one piece, And 6 years later, it's hitting another area. It's like It took that long for new skills to travel.
Oh, yeah.
You didn't have YouTube.
No, we didn't have YouTube. We didn't have social media.
No internet. Like kind of crazy.
You had to learn on your own. Yeah, and it was kind of the best way to learn. We learned the hard way.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that, because that was the other thing that we had Carlos on, and he talked about, like, I didn't realize that when he started installing film was very, very young in the sense of, like, in high school and stuff, and he knows what the original like tinter starter pack is, which the only guys that know that are the guys that tinted in the early 2000s,
Yeah, 90s.
and obviously before 2000s and lower. There's the yellow turbo. Yeah. And then white hard card.
Yeah.
You cut it in half to create a triangle.
And that's
I actually still create my own tools. I'll buy those little black and white 6-inch, cut it at an angle, and squeegee the sides and the bottom, and those little white Teflon cards. Again, cut it at an angle, so you learn to make your own tools to better your installs, or
No, absolutely.
But it's definitely changed all the
Yeah,
tools now. You
yeah,
got
the
great
tools now
companies
are-
like Fusion Tools, like 44 Tools.
Yep.
The guys make great tools for us now. It's changed the game for sure.
I remember meeting Nick from Fusion Tools in 2016, and at the time he had I forget what the card was, but it was his white hard card he had the orange crush already, and then he had a white hard card with a point. I forget what he calls. He still has them now to this day, but he has them in the different hardnesses, different plastics. If there are plastics, they're probably not called plastics, but see where he's gone from that point to now is like.
Yeah.
All the different types of tools that, like, the time that gets saved, the ease of install now is it's a blessing and a curse for new installers, because they never had to go through the struggle, which is a good thing because you can teach someone up pretty quick now.
Yep.
But the downfall to it is like there's other things they don't pick up or it takes them a lot longer to pick up because they didn't have to try to think outside the box or be a little bit more creative just because they didn't have a tool to do to do the job. It was pretty much like we'd mentioned that we used to use clipboards for like the back of bottom of the windows. Just cram that bad boy down there with some paper towels, and that's how you're getting getting that tough fider out or getting a tough pinch out. Like I remember my dad using that stuff and like grabbing like random tools like a swiper for screen printed shirts and like literally just melting that thing in certain angles and stuff to get it into a back angle of a back window just to swipe through something. It's like,
You know, the plastic license plates. You know, some of them were a little more rigid, so you can get behind the third brake light. And
Yep.
yeah, we had to make do with what we had back then. But now it's just so many great tools out there.
Yeah.
I actually have one that I want to show you guys that I invented. It's like an arm bar for security film with a perpendicular handle, which allows you to put as much pressure with one hand as you would with two when you're doing security film. You know, when you're up on a ladder and you're holding onto the wall and you're having to plow at it with both hands and
that
you're losing your
sounds
stability.
awesome.
Now you can hold onto the wall and I'll show it to you. Come to the booth at SEMA this week and I'll let you try it. You'll see it's going to come out soon.
Definitely intrigued.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was able to make actually two tools. I also made up invented the bottom loader. We call it the Easy Tint.
Yeah, I remember when that thing first hit social media.
Yeah.
No, that's
We sold over 3,000 of those in the past 3 years. So
that's awesome.
yeah.
That's got a lot more people bottom loading. It's weird because we've been doing it for so long. We actually got really lucky that Rod, one of our early installers we had for a long time, who was like one of the fastest hand-cutted installers I've ever seen, and definitely where I think Ricky gets a lot of his speed from is he worked with him a lot when he was young and just starting. But he was bottom loading in the early 90s, you know, like, and nobody was back then. And so he taught him how to do it, and I eventually stopped two-staging and started doing it, and now it's like the only way we install for the most part. And none of that stuff existed, but it was...
No. You're talking about thinking outside the box. That's a good example of, you know, trying to make your life easier.
Rod would use putty knives, spatulas,
yeah.
metal.
Yeah, just
Yep.
spread the gasket.
Didn't he even sometimes put a bungee on it?
No, that was
somebody else.
That was somebody else, and
Okay.
he would line up the whole door with those and bungee the whole door, and Rod hated it.
Yeah.
I had my opinions about it too. To me, it was just kind of like a waste of time. To where it's like you can find a way to cut that step out. Just learn how to work your way across while you're dropping the window. So, but it's teach his own. You know, everyone installs their certain way. They get comfortable with the way they're installing. We've said it a billion times. Like what it comes down to is quality. Here's the quality standard. I don't care how you get to it, as long as it's right there. It's exactly where we want it to be. You can add all the steps in the world for all I care, as long as the customer's happy and it looks exactly how we want it to look.
And result that counts. Yeah,
That is great.
I've been at it I've been tinting since '94, so it'll be 30 years next year. And the best installers that I've met, that I've come across, are installers that actually go out of their way to look at other installers over the years and find new tips and tricks. Thankfully, I was fortunate enough to join a company like Xpel that allowed me to travel. I went to China, I went to Europe, and just to see how they do it, across the pond and different continents and stuff like that is totally mind blowing. But again, it's the end result that counts. Everybody goes at it differently, but I've picked up so many tips and tricks over the years, and I've always shared them with everybody who's anybody, even my competitors back when I had my shop in the beginning to today, till social media now. It's just, to me, it's, one bad tint job makes us all look bad, right? And the consumers lose
100%.
confidence. And the goal is to make sure that every tinter satisfies their customers, and we all look good. We all benefit from quality installs.
Oh, completely agree. That's like why we're doing this, is we want to help the industry improve and have higher standards and let people know the mistakes that we made or that you made, and not have that one unsatisfied customer that, had whatever installed improperly, and now their opinion of the window tint industry is,
Exactly.
they're not referring their neighbors. They're telling their neighbors not to get their home tinted.
Look
because
what happened to mine. I mean,
Oh no, yeah, that's probably one of the biggest reasons why you wanted to do this is improve everything across the board in the fact of not only from just installations, but also how our customers are informed by certain products. They could be told one thing about how this product's going to do this, that, and the other, and that's just the unfortunate shop who's just trying to either they just don't know better, which, I mean, probably majority of the time is what it is, or they're just trying to get one over on somebody and not realizing like that one experience is going to expand and hurt all of us. Like, it's not just going to necessarily hurt you, it's going to hurt everybody. You're just hurting our industry. And that's definitely the big push behind doing this, was just to, grow the pie. Like there's plenty of glass everywhere for everybody. We all can be, it doesn't matter what film you sell, where you are at, or anything. There's so many cars and houses. And
Oh yeah, it'll never end.
never.
Yeah, it's never ending.
Well, we don't have the installers. We're nowhere near having the installers to do all of the
Or the public awareness of the products that exist. Like it's 115 degrees on the regular in the summer out here, and you can drive through any neighborhood in this town right now, and 9 out of 10 homes won't have anything on their windows. And it's like, okay, there's some opportunity there. Like we need to educate people that these products exist, that we can, we can drastically reduce their energy bill, and energy prices are only going up. So it's like
insane.
And most people don't know it's an option. I'm doing this my whole life, and I go on jobs, and the people are like, man, I wish I would have known I could have done this years ago. I would have done it. And then they're lifelong customers.
Even on the auto side, like when it comes down to like ceramic films, like being able to put a clear film on your car and still have the heat rejection of not having to put a dark film on. Like there are plenty of people that are like, oh, I don't get my windows tinted. I don't want that dark stuff. I don't, it's hot, but I don't want to get my windows dark. It's like, you don't have to do that anymore.
No, exactly. You have to let them tell you what they want. Like the first thing that I would ask my customer when they walk in the shop is, may sound like a stupid question, but can I ask you why you want your windows tinted, right? 9 times out of 10, what are they going to tell you, especially here in Vegas? It's too hot in the car. Yep. Well, I've got something perfect to reduce the heat. Come with me, show them. I would always start from the higher end and work my way down. And to me, like the bottom end film would be a failed sale for me. I wanted to make sure that they got what they wanted, not what looks good necessarily, right? It has to be effective. So if they tell you what they want, much easier to sell them on ceramic films. And
oh no, absolutely no.
And then you got to set the other thing, going back a little bit, is to set expectations with your customers, right? A lot of people say, oh, I got picky customers now, blah blah blah. But if you don't set expectations with them, you're going to run into problems that you don't want, right? The biggest thing that we ever came across, the biggest issue that we came across back then in the 90s to the early 2000s, even still today, are the dot matrix on rear windows, right? You had those Chevy Cobalts that had about 8 to 10 inches of matrix. The minute you forget to tell the customer that it's going to look, that the film doesn't reach the glass in between the dots, and it's going to look like it's not stuck, it's white, blah, 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 they come back and hit you in the face. I want my money back, this and that. So it's all about setting expectations for, from A to Z. You got to take care of them, you got to show them, you got to explain. And once you do that, you eliminate so many problems.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Like even when it comes to installation, explaining to people that it's aftermarket.
Yes.
We all strive to be perfect. I would imagine almost every installer strives to be perfect.
Yep.
I think we all can agree a perfect window does not exist.
Never seen it in 30 years.
Yeah, it just it's not there. So setting that expectation, let them know, like, there's a chance you might see a speck here or there. And these are the reasons why. I can't control everything. I try. We tint inside of a shop.
Yeah.
We have carpet down. Try to do dust control. Like, we try to do all these things. But at the same time, if I catch one little thing while I'm installing, yes, we still go through our windows and touch everything up as best as we possibly can. But there's still a chance you might see a little something. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've had customers where they've come in and they're like, oh, well, my dad's car is perfect. And I'm like,
bring it.
Oh,
let me see.
I've never been taken up on this offer, and I've thrown it out to everybody, and I'm 100% serious about it. I tell them, like, you bring that car to me, and I promise you I'll find something, because I definitely know how to tear through a window, because like I'm pretty sure we all naturally, when we walk by tint jobs, our eyes are instantly just like, let me check this out real quick.
Yep.
And it's like, I promise you I'll find something. It's like, or better off, if your dad's or your friend's tint shop is like nothing comes out, there's nothing in these windows, take the car to them, have them take the film off, retint the car, bring it back to me. If I find nothing and it is absolutely perfect, I will refund your money and I will pay for the tint job. So it's like, I will take care of everything. I've never had anyone come back ever. And it's just one of those things. It's about setting that expectation. So from tinting, so you said you sold in 2018 to Xpel. That's when you joined their team?
Yep. And actually, no, I joined their team a little before. So the vice president of Xpel, Matt Morrow, who just retired, approached me. He owned Protex Canada, which is one of the franchises that I own, that I was part of. I owned the franchise just north of Montreal. And he sold the distribution that he had, which was called Parasol Canada, to Xpel. And when he sold, he became VP of Xpel. Calls me up. I've known him for 20 years. He knows that I'm a relatively good window tinter. I can hand cut, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, would you like to try our DAP software? Apparently the tint patterns, nobody subscribes to DAP for automotive tint patterns. because they truly suck. And that was back in 2016. So I said, well, you know, let me try it out. And they actually did really suck. So he's like, would you be interested in becoming our designer? So I, you know, talked to my partner. You know, we had a good, well-oiled machine running on its own. So I was like, yeah, go ahead. So part-time, I started fixing the patterns, designing new ones. And then I started posting the results of my patterns on social media, on the window film related Facebook pages. And I didn't realize at the time, I had just started, after 24 or 5 years of being a window tinter, I had never used software. And so I started posting the videos of my top edges on frameless windows and the side edges and whatnot. And I didn't realize there was such a lack of good quality patterns. I'm not dissing any other software out there, but the feedback that I was getting is, oh my God, I want to try this, I want to try this, I want to try this. So that kind of where it all started for me on social media was sharing those patterns and then sharing tips and tricks, and it all grew from there. So I really got addicted to creating those good. I just wanted to keep getting some good feedback. So in 2018, there was an opportunity to. I kind of was so involved with Xpel that I didn't feel it was fair for my partner to run the thing alone. So I asked him if he'd be interested in acquiring my shares, which he wasn't. So we ended up talking to the VP, Matt, and we ended up just both agreeing to see if Xpel will make us an offer, which they did. So I went on board full time with them in 2018. I designed for an extra year, but you know the windows on a car will stay the same for 4 to 5 years, right? So once you're caught up in your design, you had a lot of free time. So. Like I said, they knew that I can tint and I could train, so they started sending me places all around the world to do advanced training, to represent them in some of the distributors we have, like in Asia, for their dealer conference. And while I was there, I trained again. So I traveled the world for them. So I'm like, this is a perfect move, you know. And then in 2019, they switched me over to sales. They asked me if, as we were growing, the rep for the East Coast had basically the entire East Coast except for Florida. So he was running 18 states at the time. Oh. So we split that. We split that. I got 10 states, which was still huge. But then in just last year, in June of last year, they split my territory again. So now I manage New York, Southern Connecticut, and Northern New Jersey. And that's what happened. That's what happened with Xpel, yeah.
Now, with the going around the world, different and installing different tips and tricks, like that was something that you had said earlier, being willing to look at something and say, hey, let me try this out. Like, I think that's like, I know we've said it in the past, like that's our favorite thing about going to the WFCT. Like when I was, my very first time I competed in 2012, I would say that wasn't the reason. It was, I'm the best and I'm going to go win. And then when I got there and realized, and like, okay, like, you know, and it was a little bit of a shock where I saw a few people doing bottom loading in 2012, Chris Brooks being one of them. He was one where, like, that was the first time I saw someone, not saying doing like, oh, you do it like I do it, but like very similar. Easy reach card, and that's it. And it's bottom load. And like I've never really seen that out here. And I'm not saying I didn't know anyone who did it, but it's like seeing him do that. It's like, all right, obviously I'm doing something right. Like he just had won the previous year, like legit tinner. And then seeing how everyone else kind of did things, I didn't really soak too much in 2012, but like 2014, I actually started, I'd say, growing up a little bit. And then further down the line, 15, 16, that's when I really started realizing, like, all right, the real value in this competition is watch these people compete.
100%. Like
in 2015, it was paint protection for me. Like, it was the first time I actually competed in paint protection. Like, that's the one thing I will say with paint protection. Paint protection, I was self-taught. That's the one thing now I think about, I can say that, like, I did get that experience because it was literally my dad handing me a roll of the original clear shield from SolarGuard, which anyone who'd ever installed it, including anyone from SolarGuard, that stuff was cardboard. It was, I think, late 2000s, and it was just pretty much like my dad was like, yeah, you just squeegee it on, let it dry, and card it down. I'm like, oh, okay. And then just kind of like figured it out from there. So 2015, it's like I was already at the competition. I was like, I'm going to give this a try. And that's like the first time I saw someone clay bar paint. And I was like, what are they doing? And like I went over and talked to a couple different reps from a couple of the areas, a couple of installers, and they're like explaining to me what's being done. I'm like, oh. Like I didn't do it right then because I'm not going to change what I do because I'm about to compete. That was the first time I did it. I was just like, That's why you do this. Wow, this got like a lot easier. And I credit competing to improving my installations tremendously, times 10 when it comes to paint protection. So like what kind of installation techniques did you either see that stood out? Because like I've seen like a couple of the guys, I think it was 2014 in Baltimore. I saw a couple guys, I think from Korea. I can't remember their names, but how they were scraping and squeeging the windows, like the cards they were using. I was like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think he won like 2 years later.
Yeah.
So it's like, it really shows you. It doesn't really matter how you're doing it, but is there anything that stood out to you or you pulled from, then took from?
Well, the first thing that I learned is I'm old school, right? So I was a wet shrinker.
Yeah.
I had never seen anybody dry shrink, ever. Like everybody in my area was wet shrinking. So some of my travels, actually, it wasn't a travel. When I first joined Xpel, they had asked me to help them rewrite the training curriculum, and in my head, wet shrinking was the way to go. It was quicker. We gathered 2 other tinters that have been tinting for over 20 years, and I shrunk that window just as fast as they did. But then you got to put yourself in the shoes of somebody who's never touched film. So we grabbed just a random employee working the front desk at our corporate store. Come here, let's have you shrink this rear window. And he failed miserably wet shrinking, and he basically almost nailed it the first time dry shrinking. So I'm going, oh my God, okay. So ever since then, I've never wet shrunk another window. So that was one of the things that I picked up. And in one of my travels, you guys may know this, but a lot of people, when I as a rep, I visit a lot of tint shops, and sometimes they don't know I'm a tinter, and when I see that they've just onboarded new tinters, I teach them things that I've picked up along the way. And then when I was in China, I saw a guy use the button technique to hand cut a rear window, and a lot of people didn't know what that was. Which you put a shirt button, preferably a white shirt button, so you can see it under the film. And you put it under the film, and then you poke the film with the blade, and then you grab the pin, and you follow it around the glass, and you don't scratch the glass. So I taught a lot of people, that wowed a lot of people with that. So it's little things like that you learn along the way, and then you share those things on Facebook, and it's just it grows, and you kind of get that respect because people want to keep learning from you, right? There's a lot of guys out there that share a lot of their knowledge, which we didn't have when we started, and that's what makes them get better and quicker than when we started.
No,
the button one's cool. The first person I ever saw do that was Terry Curtis.
I've never actually seen anyone.
Yeah, Terry.
I've always
Terry,
heard. I've heard it. I've probably seen it on video, but I've never seen it in person.
Yeah.
Another thing that I thought was weird that I learned when I was in China is they don't take any door panels apart. They 2-stage everything, right? And they often get those little creases on the sides when they pop up the film to tuck it under. And when they get those creases, instead of heating the glass on the outside and pushing that little crease out, they have a metal hard card, and they'll burn the tip of the metal or aluminum, whatever it was, and it gets really, really hot, and they go from the inside and they chisel it away, and that crease nearly disappears. There's a little bit of waviness on the inside, but you get to the point where you know exactly how much heat you need to apply to that aluminum hard card. And I was like, wow, this is insane. I'd never seen that in 20 some odd years. So again, those are all things you learn when you see other installers. I've seen a lot of shop owners go to these competitions and don't bring their employees. I believe that prevents them from getting better to a certain extent, because if you bring them, you're going to see 100 other window tinters install and compete, and they can just watch. And hey, I learned from you, but it's like you teaching me how to write with my left hand. I'm never going to pick it up until I see him writing with his right hand. Oh, this is much better, right? So if they may see something that someone else does that you guys both don't do, which will then they'll bring it back to the shop and try it, and so it's just a big learning process. And the day you think that you know it all in this industry, you should leave it, because like I said, I've been at it for 30 years and I'm still learning. So
no, absolutely not. I would say that was something in the past of the old school part of this industry that was a sticking point of people didn't bring their installers to the fear of they're going to get poached, or they're going to learn something and they're going to do their own thing.
Yep.
And it's like, yeah, okay, well, as long as you're taking care of your guy in the proper way, and you're putting him in a position to where he's never going to want to leave, like teach him how to absolutely run a store, do his own thing, but take care of him well enough to where he's not going to go nowhere. Because when it comes down to it, say if you have to step away for your business for some reason, something happens, something pops up, or you fall ill, which will lead me into my next thing, is like you have someone that can step right into the position and go ahead and take care of it. I mean, I would say we had that kind of problem in the past with our company. My dad was a micromanager would be kind of almost a little bit of an understatement. We've talked about the reasons why, and I understand why he was the way he was. But when it came down to it, like if he had unfortunately had fell ill or had a stroke at any other time besides the time that he did, our company would have been in some serious trouble, some serious trouble. Like it's the silver lining to that situation was like he had already been training me and my brother, and we were thankfully far enough into our company where we had a team and we were changing the culture and changing it to where it's like, letting our dad know, like we don't have to do everything. Like you don't have to do everything. Like you can delegate some of this around, like and actually like empower some people and let them learn, let them grow. Like so it's one of those things where it's nice to hear, like the last couple of people we've talked to, that mentality has been in the background, but unfortunately overshadowed by the other parts of the industry that just for some reason just think that it's a feast or famine. Like it's really nice to see though with like Eric, Carlos, including yourself too, because I remember seeing all that content kind of being put out on installations and stuff, and like that was something new for our industry. Like people weren't sharing that stuff.
No, never.
Because it's like, no, those are my trade secrets. It's like
it was always to each his own, and I would buy film in the beginning from a local shop, and he would never want me to go in the back to see how they do things. And now it's like it's all being shared on social media. So again, it makes the learning curve much quicker for newbies.
Yes. Yeah, and then that supplies everybody with installers, because I think we all can agree that that's the one big shortage we have in our industry right now is labor, is people that want to learn the trade. They don't know, they don't think, or they technically don't know how much you can make in this industry, which, I mean, sky's the limit when it comes down to it. If you're able to find a situation with a shop that has the right amount of leads coming in, the customers coming in, it all comes down to how, what you want to pick up and like how fast you can get, while obviously keeping your quality. Like, I kind of prided myself when I was just a main installer on, and it kind of bit me in the ass later on teaching guys, which I've come to figure out now, is I took my dad's process. His process was extremely lengthy, but it came with the highest of qualities. Mm-hmm. And then you had on the other end, you had our fast installer like Rod, still had good work, but was able to do it 10 times faster. Kind of seemed like he cut things out here and there, and that's where I kind of got to a point where I got my quality from my dad, I got my speed from other tinters like Rod and Terry, other guys I've been through our company that I've known and grown up with, and it kind of mashed them together. And I prided myself, like, how much of these steps can I cut out while still ending with the
same result,
better result.
Yeah,
exactly. And then it got to the point where I was training my guys and telling them, like, all right, this is what you got to learn, because I remember my dad teaching me, like, this is the stuff you got to perfect first. But then I have to sit there and tell them, like, well, I'm tinting right across from them, hey, do as I say, don't do as I do. Because I'm about to, about half of what I just told you, I'm not about to do any of that. But I'm also 15, 20 years into this industry. Exactly. So it's like you'd hope, the hope is like they get and understand that. But at the same time, it's like you see someone skip something over and over again. It's like, well, you keep telling me to do it, but you're not doing it. And it's like, it's a little unfair.
To do things that'll lead up to you skipping those steps. Right?
Yeah,
so that's years of experience.
Yeah, and I guess it's definitely on me being able to explain the why to them of why it's like that. Yep. And even when it comes down to it, though, the things I was skipping in hindsight, like now with the amount of people we have, like I was skipping it because it was me and one other staller. There's only two of us in the back of the shop, and we're trying to push out 15, 20 cars in a day. I had to find a way to get the cars done to where I'm working on 2 cars at a time, sticking a car window here, squeegeeing it, letting it sit instead of heating it, going to the other side, sticking it, then go back, it's not moving, roll it up, and like find my own little process to do it. And now it's at a point where we're trying to get our guys, hey, you guys need to work on the same car together. Yeah. Like there's no reason to be split on your own cars, because then something goes wrong over here, then that person kind of gets bogged down, put in a bad spot. Every installer, I would say, in our industry understands that. Like, if all of a sudden something goes wrong in like the first 2 hours of the day, like it's going to be a long day. Oh yeah. Are you going to rebound from it? And then And then you have your days where it's like by the time you get done with it, you're like, damn, I did that many cars. It was a good day,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, true,
So
true.
it's one of those things that you learn, I guess, over time in the experience. Now going with my dad having his stroke, and like thankfully with our company, like I said, we had a team behind that. I know that you started a nonprofit, if I'm not okay.
Yes.
Started a nonprofit, Tinters for a Cause. Kind of want to get like where the inception of that came from. I know kind of the tops of the waves when it comes down to it. But like, I know with our company, we were very lucky when we lost our leader to the company, to where we had a team to step in to keep our company going. And I know there's tons of shops out there that are like a one-man show or two-man show, to where it's like you lose one of those guys, you're done.
Yeah, and they're successful, I think, because they have a great volume, but the minute something happens, like you said, they fall in any type of hardship, what do, right? And sometimes, they don't invest in insurance, or not that they don't want to, but, I found out through the years that you guys in the U.S. have it's expensive, right? And there's such a thing as running out of insurance, which I being Canadian, we kind of have it free, whereas, our income tax, we paid for it on our income tax, but if I need a heart transplant tomorrow morning, is going to cost me $0, no matter how long I'm in the hospital, right? But what prompted this is John Little, who's a window tinter, a veteran in Texas. His wife had a major heart attack about 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, and turns out that she almost passed and needed a heart transplant, and they ran out of insurance. So he depleted all his funds. I think he's got 1 or 2 employees, had to be there for his wife. Struggling, almost lost his shop. And so when I found out about it, somebody reached out to me because they had started an auction to try to GoFundMe to try to raise funds, and it wasn't climbing. So being that I had somewhat of a presence on social media at the time, they reached out to me to ask me if I could auction something off. And so I had one of those old Makita heat guns that, the best ones that Makita ever made, that they don't make anymore, obviously. So I posted that heat gun, I auctioned it off, and again, that wasn't going anywhere. We were about $1,500, and then I said that if whoever wins it, I'm going to fly to your shop and give you 2 days of advanced training. Well, overnight it jumped from $1,500 to the winning bid at $4,500.
That's awesome.
For a $30 heat gun. So the lady who won it was Lisa Anderson in Keller, Texas. I forget the name of her shop, but she no longer owns it. It was she sold it, but she called me and said, I don't just want you to come here to train my guys. I want to try and organize an event where we gather a bunch of window tinters nationwide and have a tintathon, which was a first. So I flew down there probably 2 weeks after she won it. She advertised the whole event, in her neighborhood, saying that there's professional tinters from all around the nation. They're going to come in, and all proceeds go to John Little. So we ended up raising over $20,000 in one day. And we had about 13 tinters from across the nation that came down. And that was the first time that I ever witnessed different brands all coming together, different tinters all coming together, no matter what the brand they use. And we just had such a great time. And it was like, wow, unity in the industry it was the first time ever in 30 years I have ever seen that. And we all looked at each other and we're like, man, we all do the same thing. What we use is our business, but we're all the same, right? And the brands that came in, same thing. We all had that same perception towards the event, and it was for one goal. But the downside is tintathons are hard to organize, right? To grab 13 or 15 tinters from across the nation, get them away from their shop, have them pay for their flight. It's expensive, and not everybody can do that, right? So I was with one of the Eastman reps called Steven Sala, and he mentioned, we should come up with something like where we can turn around real quick and be able to give money right away when people need it right away, and not have to organize these things all the time, although we still want to do it, and we will. But sometimes money needs to come in much quicker. So he goes, we should start a charity. And then we started brainstorming, and John Little is actually the person that came up with the name Tinters for a Cause that day, and that stuck. And then so just, we brainstormed for a few months, and then it all came about, and we decided to create Tinters for a Cause. It took us about 2 years to get our 501c3 status, nonprofit, and we got it in August of 2022, right? Yeah. And ever since then, I mean, since August of 2022, before that, actually, I started reaching out to shops nationwide, and we started a program where if you hop on board with us, you donate the proceeds of one tint job per month with a minimum of $200. So I've got about 70 shops in the beginning that actually donate the proceeds of one tint job per month. Obviously, the interest as months go by just depletes, right? So now there's probably 10 shops that donate every month, or maybe a little more, but we rely on International Window Film Conference. Deb Levy and her team were super generous in giving us a free booth and allowed us to sell some merch and raise funds. Carlos, Texas Tint Master, same thing. He allowed us to have a booth and promote Tinters for a Cause and raise funds. We raised $20,000 at the International Window Film Conference, $27,000 at the International Window Film Conference, 26 at the Tinter Battles, and then we raised about 15 at the Window Film Revolution reunion. So we rely on those events to raise funds. And we rely on corporate sponsors as well. We've reached out to major companies to help support, and we've raised over $200,000 in 13 months so far, and we've given away $80,000. So, and a lot of people ask me, what's in it for the corporate sponsors, right? Well, sometimes us stepping in and helping allows that person to keep. We're the difference between, if they can keep their shop or not, or they can pay their employees, and if they close their shop, their supplier lose a customer, less film sales. So it's just a united support, basically, right?
Yeah.
So no matter what you use, we overlook that, and we're there to help you in times of hardship. So, and the ultimate goal, which is something that I'm working on, is to try to find some affordable insurance for the industry. I've had a few meetings with a couple of insurance companies, and we're working on having all our members join and have great deals because of the volume of installers that we can put in that program, and find affordable insurance and make sure that no other film installer, because this is not just for window tinters, PPF, vinyl, flat glass. It's the automotive film industry charity. It's called Tinters for a Cause because it's tinters put together and we help out, but it's for the automotive film industry. So that's the ultimate goal eventually, is to get some insurance for everybody and just to keep helping, that's what we're here.
I didn't even know you guys had, so with that, if a company joins and does the one donation a month, so it just pretty much, the plus is you could help the industry in my eyes, and I would agree with the fact that, obviously the everyone jumping at what are the sponsors getting? Well, sponsors are what sell the film. If they don't have anyone to sell the film to,
Exactly, right.
that becomes a big problem. So how would a company or a dealer join that or subscribe to that? Because I didn't even know that even existed until now.
You can go on our website, tintersforacause.org, and there's a spot to register. And there's no contract. We take whatever donation we can get. So you get a reminder every month, but you don't have to, right? So there's no obligation. So what does a dealer get out of it? Just knowing that they're making a difference, basically, and it could happen to you. It could happen to one of your employees, so it's just out of goodwill, basically,
Yeah. No, well, I guess what more likely I meant by that, would they be able to use your guys's, because I know you guys have a logo.
Yes.
Really slap it, at least to put it there. Not so much of boasting, hey, look what I'm doing, but at the same time, if anything, being able to get that many more shops to join in to help with that, because you just don't know. We had, it hit us like a ton of bricks when it came down to it.
You never know when it's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we are working with major brands to have them put our stamp on their boxes. A lot of them have the Skin Cancer Foundation logo on their website. It'd be fun to have them say, proud supporter of Tinters for a Cause. It's good publicity. We've created this new unity in the industry. We don't want to stray away from that unity. I think the industry has been more united than it ever has been. You see it in events now. Everybody's happy to see each other. Even at SEMA this week, right? We're here for SEMA, and all competitors are right next to each other, and they go in each other's booths, and they're happy to see each other, and congrats on your success. And it's changing. It's making a major switch. I've been at it 30 years, like I keep saying, but this is a new, it's just a new generation, and I love seeing what I'm seeing. So I think Tinters for a Cause was probably the catalyst in all this, and we want to just keep that unity and that support. We want all major brands involved, and there's something in there for, the support just says a lot about, the brand that's supporting. People say, wow, they really care about the industry more so than selling film. They care about the industry members, the installers. So it's happening. We've got great brands on board. We've got Matico, we've got Xpel, we've got Solar Effects, we've got. I'm sure I'm forgetting a few. We've got Tint is a big supporter as well. AFS, Mike Norg donates some of the proceeds of his online sales every month. Who else? Trying to think, but so we're trying to get more. We're in negotiations with Eastman right now. We're in negotiations with Global 3M. We're making some headway. It's very positive meetings, and hopefully one day all major brands or smaller brands will be on board and support their members.
No, I love hearing this, because being part of the industry for as long as we have been too. I remember the exact opposite growing up.
Yeah.
The exact opposite. If any of, and it came down to, in my eyes, almost all the brands, if you were selling, or if they got wind of you selling someone else's film, you're about to lose your entire line of film. And it's just that's just the way it was.
Yep.
And it's definitely, I think around mid 2000s, probably 2010, I guess, when our economy collapsed. That's when it kind of was open to you're buying film from us. Thank you.
Yeah.
We really don't care where else you're buying film, but you're buying film from us too. Awesome. And it kind of that was almost like a nice little reset, and it kind of seemed like it was almost building back up to it. But with you standing up, Tinters for a Cause and stuff, and also the events, the industry events we've been having, has thankfully put that standard aside finally. And everyone, it seems like it doesn't matter, Lumar, Solar Guard, Xpel, it doesn't matter what film you have. Everyone now gets together and hangs out and just wants to conversate about what's going on in the industry, what problems they're having, how they're helping their customers their best ability, what things they can get past. It's really nice to actually see our industry finally get to that point.
Yeah, and the fact that we had the IWFA's support, that means the world. They've been around for ages to help support the industry, to help defend tint laws, around the
which
North
I don't
America.
think most people even know exactly that's what they do. Listening to them talk at a couple of events in the last 2 years, really understanding what they're doing, because every state has different laws. And who's paying attention to that? They're the only one that's paying attention to that.
They do things behind closed doors. They weren't promoting what they're doing, and as you see now, they've got an Instagram page. They're on Facebook. And now they're really starting to show the industry what they do and how much they care. And one of the biggest examples of that was them just reaching out. I didn't reach out to them. They reached out to us, saying, we love what you do. We've been helping the industry for years, and we want to get on board with this. And Deb Levy was like, what can we do to help? And they went all out. This is the first year, and they're going to keep supporting that 3K walk that we did. That you finished second,
third.
Okay.
Yeah, no, the first and second guys, those dudes,
we
dudes took off, and I was.
We
like,
showed
nope.
up to the line man, we might have a chance of being up front, and then we saw them, and we were like, nope, not gonna happen. I was right behind him, and as soon as we took off, we were like, all right, we're not. There's first and second.
Well, I saw what they were wearing, and I just on
the guys for the first.
Yeah.
They
the
do
shoes
that
they were
every
wearing.
day.
Yeah, the
you guys
shoes.
kicked ass. I mean,
One of them had just ran the Leadville 100 ultra marathon, and the other one also runs ultras. So we got talking to him afterwards, and I was like, "Oh, that makes sense. These guys are these guys are runners." I can't remember their name right now, but I've actually been talking to them on social.
I can't either, but. They organized that. They called me and they said, we want to donate all the proceeds. We had about 120 people registered, and 100% of the proceeds went to Tinters for a Cause. And the people that showed up and supported, like you guys, it was really early on that, was it Saturday morning or Friday morning?
Yeah, it was only 7.
Yeah,
it was only 7, but out of the 120 people, only 80 people showed up because they went out drinking the night before, but they had still paid, and they gave us 100% of the proceeds for that. And then they had a silent auction going on during the week, and they gave us 50% of that. So, and then all the merch sales, we ended up raising $27,000.
That's awesome.
That's so cool.
And you guys were there running, and I was on my electric bike watching you.
What's cool, the conversation about the industry changing and transforming, and even the manufacturers coming together now. It's really interesting to look at and see. I really feel like it's really truly like a grassroots from the bottom up thing that's happened. I think it's because of social media. You look at
100%.
Look at Eric's presence online and having the podcast, what you've been doing online, like the community is actually just stepping up, and the industry is having to like follow. Like the big brands are having to like, oh, okay, all these guys are working together anyways.
Yep.
Like, and we'd go to panorama meetings for years, the Solar Guard panorama meetings, and the same conversation would be had every single year, sitting at lunch or dinner or whatever, people complaining about there's not enough consumer awareness about the products that we sell. And it seemed like it was because none of the manufacturers would really put anything into marketing to the consumer because of fear of like helping somebody else. And I don't know, it's just cool that we're going away from that. And the fact that more people making content, like when Carlos makes a video that goes viral about rose gold window tint.
Yeah, I didn't.
And we got to talk to him about this yesterday after the podcast, and it's like a story I want to tell now. Did we talk about it on the podcast or after?
No, we talked on it.
Okay, well, like just renaming bronze tint rose gold, like, and that goes viral, and now people are getting calls all around the country for rose gold window tint, and like I think at first people were like, "Oh, I don't have that." Well, yeah, you do. It's bronze. So if you have gotten calls for rose gold window tint, it's from that video, and it's bronze.
It's got millions of views.
Yeah, I don't know if we talked about it on the podcast.
No, we 100% did, but it's just not coming to me now. Like, I think we've had customers ask us that. I don't know how we responded to it. I think I might have said bronze, but yeah.
But it's like, that's like all of a sudden that helps everybody.
That's creating consumer awareness.
Oh, that was like when we had that conversation with him, I was like, dude, that's genius. That's absolute genius. Cause his thing is like bronze. No one wants third. And I was like, yeah, you know what? You're actually that's about 100% right. You know, as something as simple as just that retweaking of a name, and like we had a full conversation just about content in general of like just tweaking the title name, tweaking the description itself, and just getting that fine tuned in to grab the attention, because I mean that's what we're trying to do here. Is like I just need you to call. I need you to get interested, and then I will explain to you what we can and can't do. And then we'll go from there, because majority of the time you don't even know what we can and can't do. You've got no clue. I mean, paint protection being one of them, it is definitely skyrocketed in the past couple of years, especially with like the news of Tesla coming preloaded, in which everyone was like, "Oh my God!" And like that was the first kind of initial reaction. And then when it comes down to it, you see the other industry like leaders, like some of the guys step out and say, "Guys, this is." I'm pretty sure Marco was the one who posted this, like. The brand awareness we just got thrown out of the fact that people know what paint protection is.
Exactly.
Who cares? Which like I was definitely one of those people when I first saw it. I was like, I didn't know what to think. Like I think I got off a plane. I was got off the plane in Texas. I was going to a conference, and like I saw the article, and then all of a sudden my sister texted to me like a screenshot of it. So like she saw it at the same time. And like I called her, we had a conversation. They have it priced like at the right, good price point too. And I was like, yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure what to think about it. And then I saw Marco's post, and I was like, he's 100% right. Like, who cares? Like, let alone
talk about it. Do it. Talk about it.
Well, and let alone, there's going to be plenty of Tesla customers are going to be like, hey, no, I don't want you to do it. I have my shop that does my tint, that does everything for me already. Like, a lot of people already know that. Like, I can go do it over here. The people that order it, that's fine, because now they're putting it on their vehicle, and what are they going to do? They're going to talk. And they're going to spread the word around. And now we just increase the business for everybody.
That's what happened with Rivian. You know, we went in-house with Rivian.
Oh, yeah.
The OEM. And you should see just that consumer awareness alone generated tons of business, not only for Xpel dealers, but for everybody.
Yep.
Because now Rivian dealers are hunting down PPF because they know that they do it in-house. And if they don't already have it, they want it. They have other cars, right? If you own a $100,000 Rivian, chances are you've got a second or third car at home. So, hey, I want that on my car. So it's a Tesla thing. Tesla's probably one of the most popular electric brands out there, if not the most popular brand. And for them to start talking about paint protection film, wow, I wish they'd be talking about tint, and ceramic coatings and so on and so forth. But we'll take it. We'll take it. If people think they're going to lose business over this, it's the wrong mindset. They're going to gain business over this. Probably double their business over this.
Oh, absolutely.
When the most popular car manufacturer on the planet decides to talk about a product that we do, what's the complaint about, right?
Yeah. No, I've heard this before, and it really blew my mind when I heard it said this way. It might have been Alex Hermosi. Let's say that 20% of the consumers in a market understand a product exists, If you can bump that to 30%, you've just increased the market size by 50%,
Exactly.
right? Like you can't increase the amount
free
of
publicity.
installers out there to install all that work 50% in 1 year. Like you're not going to do it.
Yep.
So there's such a huge opportunity in this industry because there's so many products, whether it's paint protection, ceramic coating, security film, decorative films that we have, the ability to do wall wraps, like
Yep.
Dynoc. We have so many products that most people don't even know exist. And if we all get together and start making really good content and showing the end consumer, the general public, that these products exist, like it's not. I'm not fighting the guy down the road. I don't care if okay, go get a contract. You be the person that does all the Teslas. That's going to free up more retail customers that don't have Teslas to come to my shop because you're going to be too busy with that. Like awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep.
Yeah, no, it's I would say I was definitely a victim to that early years, and I think that might have been just being in the culture of that's what the industry was. You know, like one brand, you're that one brand. That's all you can sell.
Yep.
That's it, and that's definitely has peeled away now. And it's like, I mean, Carlos with the content he's making, like it's like the picking his brain yesterday about like look for something. If there's nothing there content wise, you're first to market. Like go after it, go hard.
Yep.
Like I mean, the rose gold thing's a plenty good example. I mean, even the ceramic and dye film that he made, like then he has customers calling him, not even asking like, well, what kind of films do you have? Hey, how much for that ceramic?
Yeah.
I've already watched your video.
Yep.
You don't need it.
I want it.
Yeah, I don't need anything more past that. I want that. Like it's really nice to see that where our industry is going and the fact that let's inform.
What's crazy is that video pops the way it does when it did, and people throughout the industry recognize it. And now, what is everybody's Facebook ads on Facebook for their shop? It's ceramic, right?
Yeah.
So now everybody's mimicking doing the same thing that already worked. So now everybody's collectively educating the end consumer
Yeah, 100%.
that you want to come in and ask for ceramic, like, and this is why. And they already know, they're already sold. So when they come in, the heat lamp's there to like reassure them and like really close the deal, but they're already coming in asking for it.
Yep.
Oh, because that video is pretty much just a digital form of the heat lamp. Like it's
Yep.
you know, you're watching. You have meters in front of the heat lamp, and then you see everything drop off when you switch in the films. Yeah, it is nice when you get in. You get to actually get the feel like, all right, this isn't just snake oil. Like you actually are selling me what you're selling me.
Yep.
But now, like the awareness now is so high, and there's so much out there where you can Google ceramic tint, and you're going to get video after video, either explaining why it does what it does, what it's doing, why it's holding out more heat, and you don't necessarily have to explain as much as you used to. Because I remember when it first came out, like that leads me to a nice question. When ceramic came out, what was your pitch to sell it? Because I remember when it first came out, I fought it because we were still selling metallized films at the time.
Yep.
And there weren't enough vehicles on the market for it to matter to not sell the metallized film. So like every once in a while you'd get the high-end car and you'd be like, well, gotta get away from the metal. This is how you're gonna get your heat rejection. But I always had a problem with, like, you're looking at the numbers and you're like, well, I'm looking at that standard film's numbers and that film's numbers, and they look almost identical, and not knowing the infrared aspect of it. But how did you portray ceramic to your customers to begin with without the awareness we have now?
Well, keep in mind, I live in Canada.
Yeah, is it
right?
even as big of a factor
it was,
for you?
It was tough to sell in Canada.
That's true.
But I made it happen. Why? Because of that question that I asked him, which we talked about earlier, is why do you want tint on your car? And even in Canada in the summer, it gets really, where I'm from, it'll go to mid-90s and very humid in the summer. From June all the way to end of September, we get weather like here, right? More humid. You guys, it's dry. But I was able to make it happen, and to the point where we created awareness around the brand, and people would ask for it in the winter. You know, I don't want to be hot in the car in the winter. I've got kids in the back. Even SUVs, right? They've got factory tinted glass, but they don't prevent heat from coming in. And then you just put a layer of 70%, and I'm not darkening up your windows, but I'm making it so that your kids don't cry because it's too hot in the car, right? And it makes the AC more efficient, right? Electric vehicles, you get better range because the AC is not all the way. Little details like that you sell them on, and it works. And it works. So again, it all comes down to that initial question, which I don't do it today, but I recommend it to my dealers when they ask me how to sell it. Ask them what they want.
Yep.
Make sure you know what their needs are. Then it's easy.
Yep.
Easy. If I was able to do it in the climate that I live in, you're able. You guys are crushing it down here, obviously, but you can do it in any market. You know?
Yeah.
And no, I didn't even think about when it comes to like electric vehicles, like range. You want more miles to drive?
Yeah.
I didn't even think about the word, like just wording it that way, and that makes
You definitely extend the range if the UREC is not all the way up.
Yep.
You know.
Oh, absolutely.
So-
No, damn.
Yeah, no, the asking why, I think, is great advice on talking to customers, whether it's automotive or residential, commercial, right? Like, there's why do you want to tint your windows?
Did you see that video that Sunstoppers posted, Mike Burke, of a popsicle on a dash? So he's got
I
the
think
car.
I've seen that. Like I think I saw them. I did not watch.
I mean, if that doesn't prove it, what will, right?
Yeah.
So he's got two popsicles laid out on the dash. They're standing up, and one side of the windshield is tinted with ceramic film, and the other isn't. And then you see there's a time lapse, and then the popsicle totally melts away in seconds on the side that it's not tinted, and it takes a while for the other popsicle to melt.
Yeah.
You know, so just that energy saving alone, especially on an electric vehicle, just makes it worthwhile.
Yeah,
you
no.
see how much more time it takes for the cabin to get warm, and it never gets as warm as.
I like that demo. That's cool because it's actually in the same vehicle at the same time.
Yeah.
We actually did something similar in front of the heat lamp with chocolate bars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's you can see the difference from no film.
Yeah, that's another video that went viral, and people say, "Hey, I want that popsicle film."
Yeah.
And the popsicle, that's actually better because you can see it from
It's quicker.
start and
Yeah.
then completely just gone,
Yeah.
and you get to see that. Instead of like the chocolate bar, you see it and you're just kind of staring at a chocolate bar, and then all of a sudden you see it cave over. Instead of seeing it, just all of a sudden that popsicle bar just slowly
Yep.
just. No, I like it.
That's really cool.
I like that.
Show those videos. Make them go on YouTube in your showroom. You know, you just show them those.
Oh yeah, we have. That's the one we have. We have that one playing on a loop in our one of our TVs. Is the chocolate bar where it shows no film, standard dye,
Same
ceramic,
process,
and then crystalline for us since
Yep.
we're 3M. So it's and that's just you see that and you see the time stamps on them and you're like, well, that one clear, instant, dye, pretty instant,
Yeah.
ceramic, big improvement, and step up and you're like even more of an improvement. You're like, all right, like I can see it. Like the visual definitely is a big sell.
Oh, yeah.
Is a big sell. With the back half of vehicles, 'cause you mentioned that with dyed glass. That's another thing that I would say public awareness is lacking dramatically. And unfortunately, it's because in my eyes, at least for us down here, our dealerships, they will tint your front doors. Oh, your car's tinted, and then they end up charging you $800 or $900. Oh, it's bad. Like I've had cars come in where it's a standard 4-door sedan, and they got charged for tint. Told it was tinted, and we pulled it in. We're like, there's no tint on here. And they're like, well, I paid for it. I'm like, well, you need to go back and go get your money because not only did you pay for it, you financed it. So you paid more than what it was supposed to be.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's shady.
Oh, it
Hurts our industry. It destroys our industry. I absolutely hate it. And like I push back constantly, and I'll tell people you need to go back to the dealership right now because they just sold you front 2 doors. Like I went and bought a truck in 2012, went down to a dealership in Phoenix, and they knew that I've already went through the whole paperwork thing over the phone. To where pretty much I was going down to sign, grab my truck, and leave. And they're like, it comes with tint. I'm like, you can go ahead and take that charge off or take the tint off. Like, that's what I do for a living. I've already given my job and everything. They're like, oh, yeah, no, we're not charging you. I'm like, okay, good. I get down there, I do a test drive, and I see this front sticker in the windshield. It says window tint. I think it was $4.99. I'm like, okay. 4-door truck, solid back window. I wish I could charge that. Okay. And then I get in it. And instantly I look, and the first thing I'm looking at, I roll on the back 2 doors. I already know the answer to it. I'm like, and the back half's not tinted at all.
It's just a factory tinted.
Oh,
Yeah.
and I was like, you guys really get away with this? And he's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, you guys tinted the front 2 doors. And he's like, no, the whole car's tinted. I'm like, dude, no, it's not. I do this for a living. And like he instantly changed the subject. And like at that point, I was just like, I'm not paying for it, so I'm not going to beat this guy up over it. It is what it is. But
Yeah,
I just
people
kind of
get
wanted,
that.
I just wanted to see how he reacted. And I was just like, how you guys are okay with this? I mean, obviously, I assume you don't care because it's not hurting your industry. But when it comes down to it, it's definitely hurting mine because it really puts a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths when they're just getting their front doors tinted somewhere, or are they just like, oh, my car's already tinted and their kids are in the back, like,
Well,
I'm dying back here.
The sad thing is they know that most people don't know. They're not tinters. I actually, so before I joined the Army, I left the shop for a little bit because I didn't get along well with my dad. And I actually tinted at Lexus of Las Vegas for 4 or 5 months. And as an installer, they paid us extra to do just 2 front doors. Like you'd get 1.5 flag hours to do 2 front doors.
Because the back half was already done.
Yeah. And then you'd go look at the sticker and see that they were charging like $700-800 back then. This was in 2006. So as the installer in the back, it was just like, okay, that's crazy. But and then they weren't using good film at the time either. It was like, it was really kind of it was interesting to see. So it was like every SUV that came on that lot got the 2 front doors tinted because you're getting paid an hour and a half to tint it. And it was
And
like,
they sell it as a full. So.
it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, no. And if I'm not mistaken, too, you are not that many, I would say, dealership installers, majority part, are guys that are coming from technical background that we did. So, like, you knew better when it came down to it. Like, kind of what was going on. I believe there was another guy that worked for them who kind of, like,
Yeah, he was new, but I don't know.
but said he'd been tinting for years and knew what he was talking about. And at the same time, like, he doesn't know better of what's really going on.
Yeah.
And the fact of like, oh, we're just tinting these front two.
Yeah, well, he
windows and
ended
they're
up
bending over the
like
customer.
we worked together long enough that we'd go out like have a beer after work or whatever. He eventually just saw my ability to tint compared to his and was constantly asking me questions and stuff. He finally admitted to me, like, yeah, I told him I've been tinting for 4 years, but I've only been doing it for like a year. And like, it's like I could tell.
I can see that.
Got enough experience to know.
Yeah, but the dealership thing is pretty crazy. So that is definitely a good thing to look out for out there on the consumer end. If they're selling you, they tinted your whole vehicle and it's an SUV or a truck, check the back windows because they might not have done that.
Yep.
And if it's a sedan or a coupe, it's not tinted. At least it's not factory tinted, should I say. I always state that. It's not factory tinted. That's one thing we'll get constantly. Oh, it's got factory tint. And like we'll be talking over the phone, like, is there a removal? Do we take anything off? No, it's got factory tint. How do I say this without, like, you're trying to, you want to be tactful with how you talk to them. You're not trying to make your customer seem like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about, but it's like, it just doesn't exist. Like, sure, if you wanted to get really technical, we could go to Toyota's and we could say, yes, they have a slight tint to their glass compared to everyone else, but it is still clear glass.
Yeah.
Clear
It's not
glass.
film. It doesn't prevent the heat from coming in.
Correct. So with the factory backsides of vehicles, what was your standard kind of pitch or throw at people of just, it was just pretty much just like, hey, just come look at this. This is dying glass. Like, this isn't doing anything for you.
Yeah. So again, in Canada, it was a hard pitch, but if they had kids, if you see baby seats in the back, it was a no-brainer for them. But it was much harder on the guy that's got his big black Cadillac Escalade and he just wants to darken it up and doesn't care. That was a tough sell. But again, when you child seats in the back, it was a no-brainer. It was super easy. And again, they would tell me what they wanted. So it was, but it was hard, and it still is. Like we've never really done any windshields.
That was going to be my next question.
Yeah, that side of the business is growing, but never as much as in the U.S. Like I manage, about 200 shop. Manage is a big word. I service 200 shops, and even in the Northeast, there's a lot more windshields getting tinted. And you guys in the South, I mean, it's a daily thing. Probably every car gets a windshield.
Almost.
But
Medical exemptions. Yes.
up
they
to
do.
2018, with the volume we had, I would do probably 2 to 3 windshields a year, with a volume of 60, 65 cars a day. So people are afraid of it. It's super illegal in almost all of Canada.
That was going to be my next question.
But
The laws are tricky in this industry.
Yeah.
It's so different everywhere. When I was in Texas, they finally updated Texas's law for windshields as long as it meters.
70.
Yeah.
So
it has
that's what we try to do. Like it defeats the purpose of putting ceramic film, say on a Tesla, when you don't do the windshield and the windshield's so huge. You look at the Model X, you look at the Model Y.
Yep.
And all that heat comes in from the windshield. So they are starting to do a lot more to make it more efficient. But it's an ever-growing market.
No. We have, at least for Nevada, we have a medical exemption that we can that people can use. And when it comes down to it, if you want your windshield tinted, if you want to be legal and have your windshield tinted, you have to have like a general practitioner. Doesn't
sign
have
off
to,
on it.
yeah, and it doesn't have to be like specialist of any sort. Pretty much, if you have skin sensitivity,
Yep.
eye sensitivity, anything like that, you know your doctor real well.
Yeah.
It is a piece of paper you print from our DMV's website. You get them to sign it off. You fill it out. You send it up to Carson City, and they send you a permit. Like there's no fee with it. It's just you just gotta do the paperwork, and then you're allowed to put up to 70% on your windshield, and then you can go as dark as 20% on your front doors. There are certain exemptions where you can go even darker. Where there are certain skin conditions to where you need to knock visible light out of everywhere
Yep.
to have that person, or at least allow that person to drive comfortably to where you can go that darker. But I would say that's another issue I say we have in our industry right now, or I say the big debate in our industry is when it does come down to windshields, how dark should someone go? Because
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I'm not a fan of anything darker than 70. If it's not clear, I
Yeah.
don't think you should be doing it.
Yeah, I've called out a few people online that post their 20% windshields, and that's just going to kill us, right? That defeats the IWFA's purpose, and it makes us take a major step back when, the day somebody dies because they didn't see what's coming at night and they hit someone and it's the window tint that's
Yeah.
at fault. It's going to set us back, right? So I don't understand why people do it, to be honest. I mean, even 50%, a lot of people put 50, 35.
Short-term thinking.
mean,
they just want that
exactly,
couple
right?
$100, and they're not thinking about
Yeah,
the consequences.
Well, and the mentality of if I don't do it, somebody else is going to do it. Well, you're not that shop. It's just like pricing your vehicles, right? Like when I had my shop, when I get a call, if the first question was how much, I would say with all due respect, if what you're looking for is a price, you're calling the wrong shop. Here's my competitor's number. He'll give you a great price, but God knows what your windows are going to look like in a few years. And then you go, I'm sure you've seen purple windows with bubbles in them, especially the back windows. That's what you may get, right? We've been in business for X amount of years. We install this type of film. We'll be here to support you, but our prices reflect our quality and the quality of the product that we use, and our reputation. So, and then they'll say, oh no, okay, well, I don't want to go there. I want quality. I want this. I want that. So, and it goes back to that level of professionalism will make you guys decide on whether you want to kill the industry by tinting dark windshields or not, right? It's just you got to keep that focus on being professional and thriving in the industry and not killing the industry by doing, even front doors. Like, I don't know what the legality here is in Vegas, but we're at 70% in the front.
See, we're 35, so
So that's not as bad.
yeah.
it's 35 slash.
Not as bad as a windshield.
Yeah, it's 35 slash majority of all of our law enforcement doesn't necessarily care.
Yeah.
Because they
Have it on their personal vehicles, so they're not
Yeah.
going to enforce it. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and it's so hot out here. Before we had ceramic films, you kind of
That's the
wanted
standard
to
that
go
got
darker
set,
to get better
yeah.
heat rejection, and it's just kind of been understood.
Yeah, and it's and then it's gotten more stricter, especially I think because of the change in the technology and stuff, where it's a realization that like you don't have to go that dark, and for the most part, as long as you're in double digits, like 15 to 20, majority of the officers in Vegas, Henderson, and even Boulder City, they don't necessarily care. There's a few that are going to, obviously, letter of the law is what it is, and if that's who you get pulled over by. But majority of the cops I talk to, they'll say the same thing. Like, dude, I got better stuff to do than worry about your tint. Like, so unless you're going to give me a hard time for no reason, I don't care.
They have the last word.
Yeah, you start giving me grief for something that you were speeding. Like you're trying to like, I'm going to find everything possible. You're getting every ticket I can find. So don't, so just, I've only can recall off the top of my head one customer that came in that was like, I got pulled over just for tint, but it was at 2:33 in the morning. It was a two-door Honda Civic slammed to the ground. It was bright red, and it had, I think, double limo on the whole thing.
Yeah.
So it was like, yeah.
That was a no-brainer.
Yeah, cops saw you drive in the middle of the night and was like, what are you doing? Turned around, pulled him over. So he stripped his doors, got to retain, because for here it's a fix-it ticket. It's pretty much pay your fine or get it removed, get it signed off. And the majority of the time, a lot of people
Just pay the fine.
Yep, pay the fine, or they'll come back and they'll get it redone again.
The cool thing is, though, is especially with ceramics nowadays, a lot more people are just cool with going with lighter. Like
Exactly.
they don't
The
want.
technology
They
is-
know they don't want to struggle looking out of it at night. You know.
Yep. Did you ever think you'd be doing $1,200 tint jobs when you started?
No.
Oh,
Right?
dude.
It's insane.
Oh, it
Yeah.
blows my mind. Like I remember when we used to get like 189, $200 for a tint job, and it was like, yeah. And like, you know, you would do like 10 cars and it's like, yeah, we broke 2,000. Nice. Now we get a Tesla who will do ceramic or crystalline on the entire vehicle and then do a full front end bra on it, and it's like 3,800. I'm like, okay.
Yeah,
Like,
times have changed.
one
Technology
car.
has changed, and we're all benefiting from this. And,
oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
We don't want to do anything to,
Yeah,
get
that's
them
how
to
you-
take it away from us.
I just
No,
hope people
definitely
keep
not.
buying those Model Ys because those are great.
Oh, even the threes too. I love the threes. Model threes are amazing.
Slap a full front on there is
Oh.
super easy, and
All the paint protection on those. As soon as you understand the stretch to getting that front nose cone done on the 3 and the Y, and the X2, the S, the original, like, so first Tesla I ever did was 2013. A customer, I ended up doing like 3 more Teslas for him, and it was a white Tesla, and he had me do paint protection on it, and like I remember struggling-ish with it, and just kind of getting used to that stretch, like
Yep.
just the right tack pattern, which is almost comes down to almost majority of patterns when it comes down to it, is getting the knowing exactly or understanding how to tack a bumper on to smooth it out. As soon as you grasp that concept, all of a sudden it's like
Yeah.
it clicks. It's like almost like when you're cutting the top edge of a door. All of a sudden, like you understand the why you're doing it, but you don't like it. Just doesn't feel right, and then all of a sudden it clicks one day, and you're like, "Oh, I should have just been doing it like that the entire damn time." But the Model S's now, I love when we get Model S's. Those are one of the easiest. Okay, I'm not gonna say the easiest bras, but compared to the 3 and the Y, because there's so much less stretch to it, and then you don't have the emblem on the hood.
Yeah.
So you don't got to worry about that. You just full wrap, bulk the hood real quick, trim it up, lift it up, work on your fenders, your bumper, wrap your edges, and send it out the door.
Yep.
And it's, yeah, no, I never imagined we would ever get the price tags that we're getting right now. And it's
Insane.
yeah, and it's not so much in. I would say some people might be thinking like it's, oh, you're just charging that much more. It's like, no, not necessarily. Like the film's not cheap, especially when it comes to like paint protection. Like, I mean, you look at all the heavy hitters, like your guys's, Solar Guards, 3Ms, Lumars, like that film's not cheap. Doesn't matter who you're buying it from. Yes, there might be a little bit of difference here and there, but when it comes down to it, like that is a good amount of material that's going on the front of that vehicle. And if I scrap a hood, I'm now
Yeah.
teetering
It's not
towards like I'm not
like messing up a front door where you
Yeah.
lose maybe
Yeah.
$2. It's a completely different ballgame, but
no, absolutely. When did so 2018 is when you stepped away from your own personal installing. So you were doing Teslas then, yeah. So
yeah, when they first came out.
yes.
Yep.
So when you did your first X windshield or 3 back window,
Yeah.
how'd that go?
So not good at all. I mean, the first one we tried shrinking it top and bottom, right? Now everybody does it on the sides. You get a 60-inch roll, and
Yeah.
but so we would try to sell the bottom half of it, tint it up to the where it starts, the factory tint starts, which we were good at because we didn't like tinting it all the way to the top. But then I saw a guy online who trying to remember who, but nonetheless, he showed everybody how to do it. Right, he was using a 60-inch roll, shrinking on the side, and then he reversed roll the rear window, but he rolled it around a PVC pipe that's about 40 inches long. Oh, what's that? And it keeps the film sturdy. So when you get in the car, and I actually posted a video of that. I was training a team back in Montreal on that same process because everybody hated the Model 3s, and now everybody loves them. So it keeps the film sturdy, and you grab it like a normal rear window, and then you just unroll. The film stays really stiff, so you don't get those manipulation creases all over. And just that PVC pipe just ends up falling behind your head, and you go about your day. So that was a game changer for us. But and the Model X windshield I've never done. Personally, I've never done one, and I know they're hard, but I've never had to do one. So I don't tint as much as I used to. So
Yeah, it makes the Model 3 back window seem like it's just a regular
I heard.
window. Like, yeah, those X windshields are
They're
not
huge.
Leave it to Elon Musk to make window tinters' lives complicated.
But
That's a clip.
I'm okay with it because when it comes down to it, like that X windshield, that's $1,000 windshield.
Oh yeah.
And it's we were at a price point that was a little bit lower than that for a little bit of time, and then it's
You got to make it worthwhile.
you can't, the time that you have to soak into it, and then let alone how much more material that X windshield uses over a back window is a substantial amount. That X windshield is gigantic, and how much it has to shrink, and then let alone you barely have any extra film down the bottom corners because 60-inch barely covers it. So your shrink has got to be on point.
Yeah.
You have to nail the shrink on that thing. Otherwise, when you're in there trying to squeegee, especially because you have to split it up the rearview mirror, which I've seen some guys remove that, which I mean, I get it if it's an added service that you're throwing on there, because I can only imagine how much time that's going to put on there, and let alone the risks you're taking on by popping off that double-sided tape just to have one solid piece. In my eyes, it's not worth it because I'm putting 70% film on there. I'm cutting it for us at least, when we cut it, I split it up the middle on the outside, and when I lay it, I squeeze everything in, and then I cut it like it's like a house window. I tuck the film right up against it, cut it nice and tight. It's got about a blade's length, if not less, right up against it. You don't see it as long as it's clean and consistent.
Yeah, and again, if you set the correct expectations of your customer, then he won't worry about it, right? Because you've told him ahead of time. So
Yeah, that actually gets to something that's pretty. This definitely be for people in the industry. Top edges of doors, like shaving or not shaving.
Yep.
Like everybody in the industry has an opinion, and it's a strong one way or the other.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, if you set the expectation with your customers, like I find that 99.9% of people that you're installing, they have no idea even what that is, unless you've used it as like a selling point that you're gonna put content out and showing that you shave. But the vast majority of people just don't care.
they don't. They don't.
It's more of a battle in between the industry of like whose way is better, and it's like
My boy's better than yours, man.
and the patterns are getting a lot better now, so you can have a computer cut pattern that's so tight that you can't tell the difference.
It's consistent. It's about consistency. As long as it's consistent, and then you obviously train your guys to the fact that it needs to be no bigger than a certain size, and it needs to look consistent across the entire top. It's when you have it nice and tight on one side, and then it's got that big gap in the middle, nice tight on the other side. There you're gonna have problems. Now, again, majority of people, I would say 60% of people, do not care.
You're 100%
But
right.
there is a chunk of people that will roll their windows down. They're gonna look at that and go, "Hey,
Yeah, I know shops that
what's all
give their
this about?"
customers the option, right? You want them shaved or filed?
Yeah.
I'll charge you an extra $40 a window, and there's nothing wrong with that, right?
Yeah.
If the customer's no, I want to pay an extra.
That's actually
you
a
let
really
them
good
decide,
idea.
You
Like-
know?
That actually is really good. Yeah. And you have examples of it. Have two little windows up front of here is a shaved edge, and here is a technical what a pattern edge is going to look like. You have your small little gap.
They do sell those little displays. It's a window, like you said. You
Yeah,
put it on.
and it's setting the expectation right up front.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
you're already having that conversation. It's not guesswork.
Yep. And if you do it, you get extra money for it. So there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with it. right?
Yeah. And you might actually find out what that percentage actually is.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there is a smaller percentage of people that actually care.
Yep.
So-
Yep. And if they care, they're willing to spend that money.
Yeah,
but
for
I
sure.
can tell you that they probably won't.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah,
In
I think most
experience,
people.
I don't want to pay
No.
like an extra $160 for this. No,
Yeah.
just bring it up to the edge and make it nice and steady, and I'm fine with it.
Yeah, no, that's definitely. I mean, majority of the people that customer wise that we've had that wanted like a shaved edge usually come from California.
Yeah.
When it comes down to it, I mean, I don't know why that is
Well,
the way it
because
is.
everybody that moves here is from California.
Yeah.
I'm talking the past 20 years. Okay,
Another
That's
cool
still-
thing that I saw is some states have very strict laws on the front windows. I got shops, especially in New York, for example. In
Oh,
New York, they have
they
yearly
are.
inspections, and I've got shops that charge a replacement insurance. So they'll charge you an extra $200. And it includes two front window replacements. And 9 times out of 10, the customers don't come back, so they just make
We've
that
been
up front.
talking about that for a while, like a no-fault warranty that you
Yeah.
include that.
They do
and
it all the time.
We talked to somebody recently. It might have been at WFCT that is doing that. And
Yeah, if you have yearly inspections, I mean,
Yeah.
why not benefit from that, right?
I think it's a cool program to even run
Yeah.
for residential, commercial, or maybe residential, not commercial.
not
but-
commercial.
Like
You have to charge too high for commercial, especially
Same
like
thing.
a door walking in and out. It's like, here, I'm going to tint your door for this, but you can pay me double, and I'll replace it twice. I mean, the only sell that would make sense.
Yep.
But I mean, high-ticket items like that, like why not have that no-fault
It
warranty?
never hurts to test and iterate and see what
Yeah.
can and can't, or see what the consumer does want, because we're not going to know what the consumer wants until we offer it.
Well, and how can you add value too? Like if that's something they're actually worried about, like, hey,
Yep.
it's covered, you're good. You don't got to think about it.
You got to know what they want. Going back to, asking them what they
Yep.
want, why they want it, and how they want it, and then you benefit from it. So
We kind of got away from Tinters for a Cause. Everything you've got going right now, how does it work as far as, say somebody does have a medical emergency or they come
Yep.
into some trouble? How do they get a hold of you? How do they get a hold of...
So
how does that work?
website, somebody that knows, say one of your friends knows that you're coming across any type of hardship, they'll go on our website and there's a request aid form on there, and then they fill it out, and then it goes to a committee. We have a committee of 15 industry related people that filter everything, right? And where there's a board of directors, which I'm part of, obviously, of 5 people, obviously an even number because, you have to have the odd man out. But the committee is where it all happens. The committee does a phenomenal job filtering these things because you never know, right? All of a sudden, when there's an industry charity or any charity for that matter, you're going to ask for money, right? It's like winning the lottery. You'll have friends that you forgot you had. Hey,
Yeah.
buddy, I want, give me $500,000.
Remember me?
So exactly. So that has happened, and the committee does a great job filtering all these requests. And, we're not 100% perfect. We recently just screwed up. Thankfully, we didn't give too much. I don't want to name any names, but it is going to keep happening. So they're improving their filtering system. And then we decide if we help. The board has the final say towards what we're presented. And then we approve or disapprove. But I'd say that we've rarely disapproved or denied any. If it makes sense and there's really a true need, then we step in. But it's tough.
Yeah.
And people call us out. It's happened online, but you got to filter that out and just focus on the task at hand. It's we didn't have it before. We're growing it. We're trying to, make it to the point where we get more sponsors and more money coming in and help more people. But there's only so much we can do, right?
Yeah, and the internet, there's always going to be
critics.
I
So
mean,
always gonna be negative.
you look at any Facebook page out there, like even in the industry, I
Yep.
think some do a better job than others of kind of keeping it professional, but there's, you mention anything, like
You'll have your
shaving
fair share of haters.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
use
there's-
water with soap. Oh, how dare you?
How many thousands of hours
Oh,
have been
God.
wasted in groups arguing whether shaved edges are better than non-shaved
Two-stage
edges?
drop load.
Yeah,
Wet shrink, dry shrink.
yeah. Then you start getting into something like a charity and money being involved, and I can only imagine the nonsense.
I've been taking some heat from some people that decide to call me out for whatever reason, and it is what it is. I've got thick skin. I do this as a passion. I sold my company in 2018. If I wanted to, I could get out of the industry forever, but I don't want to. When I retire, whenever that is, 5, 10 years, I want to keep doing Tinters for a Cause till the day I die, or as long as I can do it, because I want to give back to an industry that's given me so much in the past 30 years, and that's my passion, and it's never going to go away. So they can call me out, but I'm still going to be there just trying to help and do my best to try and be as transparent as possible so that people know where the money goes. I mean, you can call me anytime you want. We make it public. I can tell you today that we have $110,000 in the bank, and we've raised just a little over $200,000. And I can tell you who got the money, how much they got, why they got it, and transparency is key when you run this, because the last thing I want is for people to think that we do things that we shouldn't be doing or spend the money where we shouldn't be spending the money. It is 100% Tinters for a Cause related and very transparent. The books are there for everybody to ask questions for and see. And so I think that with transparency, we're going to keep growing this thing.
I love what you're doing. One of the big reasons we wanted to have you on was your last podcast with Eric. I didn't watch it live, but I saw it pop up and I listened to it and I was like, oh man, like this is awesome. And like, you can tell that you actually just care and you want to help.
Yeah.
And that you're being transparent. And I don't know, I want to find a way that we can help in some way. I know that we talked about doing some kind of fundraiser for this 100-miler that we just did, and we ended up not really pulling it together because we had so much going on.
Yeah, bit off a little too much.
But I know for sure he's running more crazy races, and I kind of got it in my head last night that I wanna attack the 100-miler again sooner than later. So I've been looking. I actually sent you one.
It's not a qualifier. I'll pace you.
I know it's not a qualifier, but I want to maybe go do that one because it's local. There's one coming up here locally soon, but I don't know if there's any kind of way we can kind of get together and figure out some kind of fundraiser we can do using our running or the show or whatever. I'd love to contribute in that way.
Set up some kind of tintathon out here. I mean, I would say we at least locally, I know I could gather a good amount of local tinters, and then even reach further than that. Our personal kind of network that we have with tinters we know across the country. I know that I don't want to speak for them, but I'm fairly certain if we set something up, they would absolutely join too.
Yeah, that's amazing. I appreciate you guys even thinking about that. And tintathons are something that's going to allow us to raise a lot more money, because right now we cap the maximum money we can give out to one person is $10,000, right? And it's happened a few times, 4 or 5 times that we've given actually $10,000, but we have limited funds, so we can't give somebody 50 grand because we need to keep a certain amount of money in the bank. But tintathons will allow us to help somebody and give them more. Like, look at John, $20,000, as a great example. There was, oh my God, that little girl, Haley, who recently passed away, unfortunately, and we did another tintathon in Texas where we raised another $20,000. They had an experimental treatment that they wanted to try, and it was her last hope. That treatment cost $12,000. She wasn't able to pay. The family wasn't able to afford it, so we raised $20,000, gave them money. She got the treatment. It made her live an extra year and a half, maybe. So it didn't fully work, but things like that, and just that $10,000 wasn't enough. So what can we do to give more? Tintathon, So if you guys ever want to put something together for somebody that you think needs it, then we're all for it. We're going to support it. We're going to be here.
Even beyond just for someone needs it, just for
do it ahead of time.
Or do it ahead of time. The money goes
future
direct.
person that unfortunately is probably going to need it. I would say I don't want to wait. We all unfortunately know that bad things are going to happen. It's life, unfortunately. Yep. I would love to put something together. If anything, we can turn it into something annually. Yep. And try to do something, set something up annually, do something like that. I would absolutely love to.
Yeah. We're actually helping somebody this afternoon. We're going to do it at SEMA. This is going to be aired a few months later, so I can tell you that I don't know if you're familiar with Stan Foster.
Yeah.
Industry legend. He's been at it for 40 years. He trains a lot of people. His son just passed away, and he got himself in some deep debt supporting his son, and we're going to help him at SEMA this afternoon. So we're gonna give him $10,000 as well to help him pay for some of his bills. So
that's amazing.
We need all the support we can get, man. So any publicity, any advertising that you guys, just this podcast, I super appreciate the fact that you guys have me on here to talk about that as well, because it's going to create awareness, and hopefully more installers like yourselves will want to hop on board and do a little something once in a while to help raise funds. And we're a small industry, but we're all united, and we need to keep that unity and support each other, so.
Oh, no. For sure.
Yeah.
That was a big reason that you were at the top of our list for, we only had so many slots at SEMA, and we got to get Dean on. What else, what kind of call to action you got to put out to everybody as far as when they do see this on what they can do to help?
As far as Tinters for a Cause, I mean, man, it's whatever idea that you can have in your head that would help us raise funds, just reach out to me. You can. I'm all over social media, Instagram. You can reach out to me on Messenger. I'm very easy to get a hold of, and we'll brainstorm. I need more support. We need more help. So to say one thing specific, what you can do. I mean, unless you want to donate every month and join the Tinters for a Cause Shop Owners Association program, that's one thing. And then, like you guys just said, maybe have a tintathon or come up with ways to raise funds, your run, whatever. I mean, we're open to any idea, and I'm very easy to get hold of. So,
We really appreciate you coming down, taking time out of the day. I know that technically I want to thank Xpel, letting you come down. Letting you come down. I know when it comes down to it, they kind of had the ultimate say if you could step away. So we really do appreciate them.
Thank you,
appreciate them letting you step away for... Yeah. To go over I've always been kind of curious your background and everything. Social media, you can only get so much from social media.
True.
Saw you pioneering with you posting, and when you started going with your patterns and everything, and even with the tools too. Like that tool in my eyes inspired so many people to start bottom loading, which I'm going to say, obviously I'm on team bottom load. I think it is a more clean, efficient way of installing. I'm just going to go ahead and make that statement now. But also, Tinters for a Cause, getting to actually knowing the full kind of background. I knew what it was, but actually getting the full background, the fact that where the place is coming from is absolutely it's amazing that you're doing this, and thank you.
I appreciate you guys. keep kicking ass out there. You guys are making everybody jealous with winning the flag glass competition every year. And, you guys you're awesome, and I appreciate the opportunity. And, again, I also want to thank Xpel for making this happen. They're a huge supporter of our cause, and they donate every year as well, and they support me and all they don't have to, right? I've got my day job, but they're 100% behind everything I do. And so, yeah, thanks to them, and thanks to you guys for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Have a good one, guys.
Don't forget to subscribe.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Last
Subscribe.
part. You guys know what to do. Hit that subscribe button. Follow us along. We have multiple other people coming on from SEMA. Like I said, there's a flood this week of installers and manufacturers coming in this week to where we have a lot of amazing guests coming up. So hit that subscribe button and follow along. Have a good one.